I think it has started, right? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, so what I was telling you is that so for cloud, there are so many different things. The concepts of virtualization, which is very integral to the development of cloud. We talked about different types of virtualization. As I said, emulation-based virtualization, para-virtualization, full virtualization. Even within these also there are so many different concepts, and I even showed you some videos of different case studies, centered on these different types of virtualization and the different other concepts. Even we saw that the management of the cloud requires a hypervisor, and this hypervisor itself can be of different types, right? So type 1, type 2, type 3, and they all have their own specific properties, different situations. These different types of hypervisors are going to be useful, right? So based on the requirements, etc., these different hypervisors are useful. Even I talked about last, if you recall, in the last class, I showed you the process of virtual machine provisioning, right? First, we talked about this virtual machine life cycle. Every virtual machine, it goes through a series of phases in the life cycle, and then I told you about this virtual machine provisioning and the steps that are there in this particular provisioning process. But you see that in all of these there are so many different assumptions that are made. So cloud, as you can understand, is a very complex system. Cloud is a very complex system, right? Because there are so many different things that will have to be done. And one of the interesting things that will have to be done is that these resources, which typically, but not necessarily, typically are distributed and maybe across the world in different locations, these resources will have to be provisioned, and these will have to be integrated in such a manner that based on these user requirements of these cloud-based services, computing services, these resources in the back end are going to be used and provisioned in such a manner that to the user, whatever they need, user just requires, and so back end something goes on, and and typically it's a very complex kind of mechanism involving so many different scenarios, etc., and the user gets whatever the user needs, right? But the thing is, this complexity is very important, right? So manual kind of manually conquering this complexity, it is near to infeasible. And if you do it manually, it is not going to be, performance wise, it is not going to be very very good performing, right? So it is not going to be as much desirable as cloud should be. So some kind of autonomy in managing this complexity is required. So for this, what is required is some kind of self-management mechanism, self-organizing mechanism involving different complex tasks, excuse me, including the provisioning of this VM, the provisioning of the resources, the allocation of tasks to resources, resources to tasks, and reprovisioning, etc. Reallocation, reprovisioning. So all of these autonomously, this should be done, right? And in a typical scenario, we are also talking about not a homogeneous cloud, but a heterogeneous cloud architecture. So whenever we are talking about heterogeneity, we are typically talking about cross-vendor heterogeneity. So may not be having the same specification, same make, etc. of these servers in the backend. So it's a very complex kind of scenario that is involved. So to conquer this kind of complexity, um, there was this project, a European Union project, which is called the Cloud Lightning project, right? Which was part of their Horizon 2020, research program. And this project, basically European Union funded project, typically, not typically, but it was basically, managed primarily from Ireland, right? It was primarily a Irish project. So what they did is that they came up with this new architecture called the Cloud Lightning architecture. This Cloud Lightning architecture is a self-managing, self-organizing architecture for use with heterogeneous cloud, right? So it does number of different things. I just wanted to touch upon today to show you what are the main main properties, main benefits of this Cloud Lightning solution that this project came up with, Cloud Lightning project came up with. What are the main benefits and main features of this particular solution, Cloud Lightning solution. So so you see that this Cloud Lightning architecture was proposed, and as I said, that it was proposed to conquer the challenges that are associated with heterogeneous cloud. So why I am discussing over here this thing? Because of two things. One is this data management, the other one is the service management, right? And this is what we are talking about in this particular module, right? So this data management and service management brings in a lot of inherent complexity, like the ones that we have seen so far in the last few classes. And these complexities could be managed in a self-managed, self-organized way if we have a solution like Cloud Lightning for conquering this the inherent complexities that may be there. Okay, so there are different components, there are different services with self-organization, self-management approach. Now this idea of self-organization and self-management, let me tell you, it came with the properties of autonomic computing. So I do not know how many of you have heard about autonomic computing. It has its origin, I think now close to about 20 years ago. I mean, just approximately, I'm telling you, I have forgotten the exact year when autonomic computing came into being. But in companies like IBM, etc., it has its origin. I think IBM was the company from where it started autonomic computing. So the main idea is that can we have complex systems to be completely self-managed. What does it mean, self-managed? Self-managed, self-management, self-organization, these are properties of autonomic computing, which means that the systems can do everything on their own without any human intervention. So for complex systems it is required, because you cannot, if there is some component that fails, you cannot have a human operator or somebody to go and change that system, right? Let us say that a server fails, right? Automatically this cloud system should be able to cope up with this failure, right? So maybe bypassing this particular failed server and working with the other ones while notifying the provider that something has gone wrong, right? But it should not happen that the entire system fails because of failure of one component, right? The system should still be able to function with desirable performance despite failures, despite different types of adversities. Additionally, these systems should be configurable on their own, right? They should be able to be configured on their own. So they should be self-configuring. So there, in autonomic computing, there are different properties. These are called the CHOPS properties. So self CHOPS, right? So C stands for configuring. So you have self configuring self-healing. H stands for healing. So self-configuring, self-healing. Then O stands for optimizing. So these systems should be self-optimized. So optimal performance, etc. This should be there. আমি তোমায় কল ব্যাক করবো, ক্লাসে আছি তো, আমি এটা হয়ে যাক কল ব্যাক করছি। So self optimizing and self performing and like that, you know. So these are some of these different properties of autonomic computing. So the whole idea is to superimpose these properties of autonomic computing to manage the cloud complex system. For this cloud lightning approach, this cloud lightning solution is attractive. Okay. So yeah, so so this approach basically, it describes how the specialized hardware can be seamlessly integrated and the complexity of resource management can be handled considering the heterogeneity in cloud computing. So there is heterogeneity, cross-vendor heterogeneity, within the same vendor also different types of servers, different specifications, different types of other compute services, devices, etc. So these are all there, right? So how do you conquer this kind of complexity, right? So, and these should be seamlessly integrated, because ultimately to the user doesn't know, the consumer doesn't know and doesn't need to know whether, you know, it is, you know, the resources are coming from one server, multiple servers, you know, these resources are all pooled together, or how things are happening, you know, you do not need to know as a consumer. All you need to do is you have some requirement and you should be able to get those requirements. So cloud lightning basically is an approach which can help you seamlessly integrate this complexity in resource management and the heterogeneity that is underlying, right? So this is where cloud lightning is useful. So you know, so cloud lightning architecture basically, it has you know, some kind of you know, modular kind of build up, right? It's a modular build up. And you know, so this architecture is similar to the warehouse scale computing, right? So you know what is warehouse scale computing. So this architecture of cloud lightning is similar to this warehouse scale computing, and it is particularly useful for you know, why this warehouse scale computing basically, you know, because it is particularly useful for high performance computing based tasks, right? HPC. So you know, tasks such as oil and gas exploration, right? Oil and gas exploration, weather monitoring, then let us say bioinformatics, like, you know, genome sequencing, etc. So for these are actually HPC based, you know, compute intensive, high performance compute intensive tasks, right? These involve high performance compute intensive tasks, these applications. So for this, actually this warehouse scale computing is useful, and cloud lightning is a warehouse scale computing mechanism. In this architecture, basically it starts with the smallest component, which is called cells, right? For example, in cellular networks, right? So cellular network, the smallest unit is the cell, right? So nowadays people are talking about microcells, picocells, and so on, but typically it's the cell. So here also you have the smallest component, which is called the cell. Now each cell is comprised of something called racks, right? So you have cells, within cells you have racks, right? So you have the smallest unit, cells, but within the cells, what is the cell? Cell is a collection of different racks, right? And what is this rack? Rack basically provides you computational resources. So you have several computational resources clubbed together to form a rack, and this rack basically can be, you know, this collection of racks will give you a cell. Now, you know, if you look at the hardware organization of cloud lightning, there are basically physical servers which are partitioned into different groups, right? So some clusters of physical servers, right? And these servers could be geographically distributed or so on, but, you know, so they all are going to be grouped in such a way that, you know, they are going to be cells. These are going to be cells, and this grouping mechanism could be based on their geographical proximity or the geographical area in which they are located, or these could be based on some other different criteria, right? So these physical servers once again are partitioned into different groups based on the geographical locations or regions called these cells. Now these cells are composed of different computational resources such as the resource fabric, right? So resource fabric, and there are 5 primary computational hardware that are typically observed. These are considered and found in these cells, right? So what are these hardware? One is the normal CPUs, commodity servers. Second is the GPU, right? So GPU accelerators, these GPUs, right? And the accelerators, so GPU accelerators, MIC accelerators, FPGA accelerators, and the NUMA accelerators, right? Non-uniform memory access scale NUMA high performance accelerators. So like this, so you have these CPUs, GPUs, MICs, FPGAs, NUMA, etc. So these are different computational hardware which are used to form these resource fabrics in the cell. So now this in conventional data center, basically the physical racks are used to hold the computational resources. So these resources basically are there in the racks, right? And these physical racks in conventional data center has no explicit identity. The Cloud Lightning basically introduces a virtual component called VRACs. Now these VRACs are basically, each VRAC contains a group of physical servers that share certain common properties in terms of the hardware types, their compatibility, or the network connection. So you have this virtual clustering of these racks, right? The physical racks, their virtual clustering in terms of their common properties, based on certain common properties such as the type of the hardware, the compatibility, network connection, etc., etc. Now on top, so you have all, you see, you understood, right? So you have the cells, within the cells you have the racks, the resource fabric created out of these, etc., etc. So you have all of these, right? But ultimately you need some kind of an abstraction which is going to logically group all of these compute resources at a higher level. So for this, there is something called the hardware abstraction layer, which provides a logical view of the underlying hardware to the cloud management layer, right? So one thing I forgot to tell you before I proceed, let me clarify something. So why do we need all of these? I told you that complexity is one, and particularly when you are talking about complex compute exercises and applications such as high performance computing, oil and gas, natural exploration, then weather monitoring, genome sequencing, etc., etc. One of the things that is very important is basically to bring down the costs, right? And to improve the energy efficiency. Okay, so bringing down the cost, improving energy efficiency while ensuring that there is improved service offering. These 3 criteria should be fulfilled, and for this basically Cloud Lightning solution takes care of all of these put together. So what do you need? You need to have improved performance overall, right? You need to have improved performance. So at lower cost. Now to the cloud service provider as well as the cloud consumer, for both the parties, it should be a win-win kind of scenario, a win-win scenario. So the consumer wants to pay less and get advanced levels of services, whereas the this cloud service provider wants to offer advanced level of services and earn adequate, earn good profit, right? While ensuring that the typical requirements of energy, etc. Because nowadays, people want the sustainable solutions, right? Sustainable solutions means these should be environment friendly, right? So you should have to also ensure that whatever solutions you are coming up with, these should be environment compatible, right? So you need to ensure that there is less carbon emission out of your compute infrastructure, and for this basically Cloud Lightning can help in fulfilling all of these requirements: cost, energy savings, as well as improved service delivery. Now, so you have this cloud management layer, which has basically this hardware abstraction taking care of by logically viewing the underlying hardware and bringing them all together in the form of virtual racks. So, and these resources are placed into these virtual racks by the hardware abstraction layer. So the initial size of a virtual rack is determined by the type of the resources to be managed. So a VRAC can also communicate with other VRACs to transfer all pool resources, because ultimately it is all about, to the user, as I said, to the user, it's the one pool of resources, right? So user doesn't need to know, right? I mean, what is in the back end, right? So you can pull different resources from different sources. So for transferring and pulling these resources and putting them all together, these VRACs, they have to communicate with each other. They will have to communicate with each other. So you have every VRAC, which is basically a collection of different actual physical racks based on certain criteria, and like this you have different logical groups like these VRACs, and these within the VRACs also there can be communication between them. So you need, as I said, some autonomic computing features. So plug and play kind of mechanisms are desirable over here, right? So you need a dedicated plug and play interface that adds new resources to the Cloud Lightning system. So whenever there is a new resource, it should be kind of plug and play. So just put it in, it starts, it gets added to the existing infrastructure. So this the newly added hardware, basically out of this plug and play mechanism for the hardware addition, basically it provides its specification to the plug and play interface, and this interface basically creates the something called the CL resources, CL resource instance, right? CL means Cloud Lightning resource instance from the specification of the newly added hardware. And this newly created CL resource is attached with a suitable VRAC, which is basically a logical group of the physical racks, and are managed by a dedicated VRAC manager. So there is a VRAC manager for managing these VRACs. So look at this particular figure. It will make this Cloud Lightning plug and play architecture clearer. So what you have is a VRAC like this on the left hand side. So this VRAC, every VRAC basically is comprised of number of physical servers, and this VRAC basically is managed by the VRAC manager, right? And whenever a new hardware is connected, is plugged in, this plug and play interface takes effect, right? Plug and play interface will automatically be triggered, and this plug and play interface is going to create this VRAC manager instance, which is this one VRAC manager instance, which is going to manage the resources within that VRAC. Now there will be continuous communication between these two managers, two different VRACs and their corresponding managers, VRAC I and VRAC J, right? So this is basically this end-to-end scenario of how this plug and play mechanism for resource utilization, it works in the context of Cloud Lightning. Now there is a cloud management layer of Cloud Lightning. In this layer, basically a cell manager is associated with each cell. So there is a cell manager which performs these operations. Number one, receives the application requirement documents, right? And it is in a particular format, right? So this application requirement document is in a particular format, and it happens, so there is no human intervention, right? So cell manager means it's an entity, so it automatically, so it takes these application requirement documents in a particular format, written in a particular template, and it acquires these CL resources. So for this, actually there are two steps. Again, user can select the resources found by the resource discovery phase, for which resource reservation is required, and a system can also assign appropriate resources according to the requirements where the resource reservation is not required. So if the resource reservation is required, then you have this selection of the resources from the resource discovery phase, and if it is not required, then assigning the appropriate resources according to the requirements that are specified in the application requirements document. So the operations of the cloud management layer are divided into the following stages: CL resource discovery, CL resource selection, resource acquisition, and coalition lifecycle management. These are the 4 different layers, management layers in Cloud Lightning. So first, let us talk about this resource discovery, right? So resource discovery, the CL resource discovery is initiated by the cell manager after receiving the application requirements documents from the gateway. Okay, and these documents basically they contain the blueprint of the service requirements. Okay, so they contain the blueprint of the service requirements. So service requirements have to be given first. So in the discovery process, this process basically first locates all the possible CL resources, Cloud Lightning resources that can satisfy the specified requirements from the application requirements document, and then determines the information about the dynamically changing capabilities and the capacities of the VRAC managers, instructs these managers to reserve the resources based on these requirements from this application requirements document, and then forwards the resource discovery information to the resource selection stage. Now, what is this selection stage doing? It determines the resource sets that are required for fulfilling the consumer specified criteria. So this is where the resource selection basically are specified, and then selects one of these resource sets which minimizes the overhead of cloud service provider. This VRAC manager then manages all the CL resources associated with its own VRAC, and each VRAC manager it will perform 3 functions. One is the resource acquisition component, then coalition lifecycle management, and self-organization agent. So these are the 3 different functional components of the VRAC manager. Now, what is this acquisition component? This component is activated by the cell manager and acquires the CL resources selected in the CL resource selection stage. Then comes the coalition lifecycle management. Here, the coalition is a special type of CL resource and represents a set of homogeneous set of resources within a single rack. So you have heterogeneity, but then within that, whenever you are doing this clubbing and putting together in the form of different groups, you put all these homogeneous set of resources within the single VRAC, right? And so there can be 2 types of coalitions that could be formed. One is the static coalition, the other one is the dynamic coalition. So the static coalition basically is formed by the VRAC manager from a fixed set of CL resources. Basically, static coalitions, non-changing kind of coalitions are formed because everything is fixed in terms of the type of resources and so on. Now, the dynamic coalition, basically the VRAC manager, it constructs these coalitions by dynamically creating some or all CL resources. And here a coalition may exist within a single server, or it can basically span multiple different servers. If the coalition span multiple VRAC servers, then different VRAC manager communicates with the adjacent VRAC managers in the same way, in a very similar way to what I had shown you in the figure just a little while back. So now let us look at this resource selection process and the formation of coalition. So you have these coalitions, as you can see over here, formed out of these different servers and the corresponding virtual machines from multiple instances. So within a VRAC, as I had shown you earlier, and as you can see in this particular figure as well, you have multiple different servers, and each server basically has multiple virtual machines. So these coalitions could be formed out of virtual machines coming from the instances of different types of servers, right? So this is what is depicted in this kind of coalition formation in this figure, right? Now you have this self-organization agent. Here basically the VRAC managers, they organize themselves into groups and determine the local optimum strategy for the CL resource management. The self-organization agent maintains the data about the VRAC managers within a group and exchanges the local state information within the VRAC managers, exchanges the power management decision within the servers within a VRAC, and helps to migrate the servers from one VRAC to another VRACs. And this migration process again is very important to understand, because so everything has to happen, as I said earlier, in a self-managed way. This migration also has to happen in a self-managed way based on the requirements that come statically or dynamically. Now this classification of VRAC managers, three types, A, B and C, three types of VRAC managers. Type A, basically it manages a set of homogeneous resources only, and these managers can be managing commodity hardware, or CPU GPU pairs, or CPU data flow engine pairs, or CPU MIC pairs, right? So all these different types of hardware resources, these could be managing all of these different types of resources. Now type B are more specialized, manages a set of HPC machines. So for example, for genome sequencing, you will be having a specific type of this manager dedicated to it, and this is going to take some specific type of CL resource. And type C, basically it manages a set of hardware resources that are co-located on a high-speed interconnect system, right? So you have interconnect system through the communication between these different resources. So this management of these interconnected systems, connected through the high-speed backbone, this is basically taken care of in this type C. So this is the pictorial depiction of these types A, B, and C VRAC managers. So these are all, whatever I said. So type A, basically, as you can see, different types of homogeneous servers, put together. And then you have this type B, where you have a specialized hardware, and this is basically one instance put together in the specialized hardware in the VRAC. And then you have type C, which is interesting, because here actually there is interconnection between these different servers brought together in a common platform, in a dedicated using a dedicated high-speed interconnection. So again, like before, in order to break the monotony that is there in these lectures, so I am going to give you again, I am going to show you a video which is going to talk in more detail about this Cloud Lightning system, right?